I'm Jasmine, and you're watching my channel, The Curious White Coat. In this video, I'm going to be talking about imposter syndrome, which is something that I think many of us struggle with, and I'm no stranger to it myself. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you can stay in touch with my latest videos. In the late 1970s, Dr. Pauline Rose Clance coined the term imposterism or imposter phenomenon, which is when you have these feelings of self-doubt despite your accomplishments, and this fear that you're going to be found out as a fraud that's been fooling everyone about your level of intelligence or your skills. Dr. Clance said that facing constant criticism can lead to these feelings of inadequacy and this response in your head that you are incompetent, despite your proven skills. So I started to wonder, why is it that medical students feel this way? Why does imposterism happen to med students? Now, this is just my viewpoint, but I do think that there is a part of the medical education system that breeds a little bit of competition and harsh judgment. For starters, when you're a pre-med student, you're expected to take all of these really difficult classes in such a short amount of time and to do really well in them. Meanwhile, you're going to be doing all of these extracurricular activities to help you stand apart from the crowd when it comes time to apply for medical school, but life is still going on, so you have to worry about, bills, student loans, your family, all of that is still there while you're trying to do this. And at the end of all of that, you come to this application cycle where you've been preparing for years, and then less than half of the people that apply are going to make it in. So all of that hard work over however many years is now kind of whittled away at in a couple of months when you face like rejection letter after rejection letter after rejection letter. And in the 2020 to 2021 application cycle, about 42% of people actually made it into medical school. So you'd have better luck of flipping a coin than actually getting it into med school. And of those people that made it in, not all of them were applying for the first time. So it's a very difficult process. And I feel like once you get out to the light at the end of the tunnel of the medical school application process, the stage can be set for people to feel these feelings of inadequacy. Also, if you are someone who identifies with a non-majority group, feelings of imposter syndrome can actually be emphasized. So in the past couple of years, the majority of students that are in medical school, about 70% of them on average, are people who identify as white only or Asian only men and women. And that's data that I got from the AAMC. I don't know about y'all, but imposter phenomenon was never more real for me than in those first couple of months of medical school when I had been getting through those first couple of classes. I don't know if you've seen the analogy with the fire hydrant and medical students, and it's like this, everything hits you in this big blast. That was 100% true for me. I felt like the studying was just completely different than anything I had experienced before. The classes were like my undergrad courses on steroids, and the exams were just hard for me to figure out, and I just felt like I couldn't get it all done in a day. There just wasn't enough time. I would actually go over the statistics in my head, like, okay, 40% of people make it in. Somehow I barely squeaked by, I don't deserve to be here, and somehow I landed in this position. And I would actually be afraid that I was gonna get a call or an email or something with someone telling me, hey, we'd like to rescind your acceptance. And I was afraid, and I just couldn't relax. Maybe you can identify with those feelings, but here are some more points about imposterism so you can recognize what it looks like. You chalk up your successes to luck. You downplay your accomplishments. Maybe you don't talk about your awards or your honors that you've received. You shun compliments and discount positive feedback. You might even have these feelings that you peaked and you just don't have any more potential left in you. You might also have this attitude that just because you we're able to achieve one success doesn't mean that you're going to be guaranteed another one. And you're afraid that the expectations that have been set forth for you are things that you're not going to be able to measure up to. So in 1985, Dr. Clance actually described the imposter cycle, which it starts off with having this achievement-related task set for you to do. So you face that task and you're hit with these feelings of anxiety, worry, and self-doubt. So then you either can over-prepare, or you can procrastinate, or you can do both. And as I was reading through this, I realized, I was like, oh my God, is she describing my life? Because that is literally what I would do. I would have a project, or I'd have to study for something, and I'd be so nervous about it, and I would either break down that task into like every small detail until I just had like a to-do list for all of the minutia, and I'd either do that or I would procrastinate. And once I would get done with that task, I would just feel so relieved to have it done. That's imposter syndrome. We know what it looks like, but I didn't want to leave you with this doom and gloom perspective. There are strategies that you can use to kind of combat imposter syndrome. So I wanted to share some of those with you. I did look these up from credible sources that I felt like I could trust. There are a lot of random things out there on the internet by people that are just not true or helpful. So I really tried to look for some good strategies and some things that I've tried to use for myself. So you can check out the links in the description box. I'll have them in there if you want to learn more. First and foremost, I just want to say that I think that the burden of finding a solution to this problem should not solely be the responsibility of the medical students and the pre-medical students that are facing this and feel this way. I think that the medical school education system has a large responsibility in working to improve this. I think that medical schools need to have the idea that every student that comes through your doors can become a physician. And I think that's a good marker of how good the educators there are, how good the administrators are, if they're able to give that opportunity to everyone that comes to them. These are some of the strategies that can be done on the individual level if you think that you're dealing with imposter syndrome too. So the first thing is to identify the feeling, be able to name it. I think realizing that something is going on is one of the first steps to being able to conquer that obstacle. Number two is to realize that you're not alone in this. There are many people that feel this way. Remember that you've earned your spot, and allow yourself to feel a little bit of pride in that. This next strategy by the APA is one that I've been trying to use a lot more for myself. The next time someone congratulates you or compliments you, accept the compliment. And maybe even brag on yourself a little bit. Be like, yeah, that was pretty good, wasn't it? And if you have a milestone or a certain achievement that you've reached, go out and celebrate that. Let yourself feel good about the awesome things that you've done and focus on your strengths. One of the ways that I've tried to do this more is to accept, instead of saying like, oh, it was nothing, or oh, it wasn't a big deal. If someone congratulates me on something, I say thank you. It was hard work. And that's the honest truth. This strategy can be a little tricky. First, you're going to identify that imposter thought and then restructure it in a way that allows you to still be able to move forward. So an example I would give of this, and this actually makes me think a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy, but the example I would give is if you're thinking, I will never be able to do this, I can't possibly achieve such and such goal. Instead, you would think, I may not be able to do this right now, or I may not be able to do this yet, but I will be able to. And I think what that does is it doesn't let you cut yourself off right then and there. It doesn't allow you to kind of sit in that self-doubt, but instead you are realistic because maybe you don't have the tools right then that you need to succeed, but you're being more realistic when you realize that it's still a possibility that you can achieve that goal. If you're struggling with this, you are not alone. There are so many people at all levels, people at the top of their game, experts in their field that have all felt this way before or feel this way now. If you're someone who hasn't had to deal with imposter syndrome before, and if you maybe have a hard time imagining what it would feel like, think about the fact that this could be some of your friends or someone that you really care about who could be going through this and could really use you as part of their support system, as someone that they can trust to confide in. And I think we all can have a role in helping to lift each other up. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you can see more of my videos. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.